Hello, we're reading from Believe by Desmond Tutu, and we'll find out a lot of good information about Desmond Tutu. We don't hear so much about Desmond Tutu anymore. Most of the films are on Mandela. That's cool. We even got some Winnie Mandela. That's good. We need more Winnies. But Desmond Tutu is interesting as well. The encounter shifted something deep inside Tutu. His experience among white people in England led him to believe that if the conscience of white people in South Africa could be awakened to the hurt of apartheid, then non racial cooperation would lead to a change in the country's politics. But the brutality of the police depressed him. He questioned his God. The next day at Mass, he broke down and cried. He identified strongly with the students and with the principles of black consciousness. Yet, at a point when he was beginning to internalize the struggle against oppression, again the pattern of his life intervened to end his tenure at the seminary in 1969. For the next 4 years, Tutu lived outside South Africa, first in Lesotho, teaching theology at the University of Botswana, then in London, serving as an associate director at the World Council of Churches. This position gave him access to many countries and he traveled widely, particularly in Africa. The experience alerted him to the disparities between church and state throughout the African continent, even in those states recently liberated from colonialism, and helped him refine his theological thinking. In a paper he wrote, Black theology has to do with whether it is possible to be black and continue to be Christian. I would say so. It is to ask on whose side is God. It is to be concerned about the humanization of man, because those who ravage our humanity dehumanize themselves in the process. It says that the liberation of black men, or the black man, is the other side of the coin of the liberation of the white man. So it is concerned with human liberation. This became a guided note in everything Tutu was to do upon his return to South Africa in 1975. From then through the hearings of the country's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, 30 years later, these ideas were fundamental to Tutu's attitude toward humanity, and most notable in his formulation of the Ubuntu idiom, a person is a person throughout other people, or through other people. Tutu's return to South Africa was nothing if not controversial. While still in London, he had been nominated as a candidate for the position of Bishop of Johannesburg and had narrowly been defeated in the election. However, the new bishop, keen to alter the church's white hierarchy, appointed him head of St. Mary's Cathedral in Johannesburg. The first black cleric to hold position, the appointment pushed Tutu willy-nilly onto the public stage. Until this point, he had not been a political voice, and his rise in the church had been determined by his intellect, wit, and buoyant personality. Now his role as a pastor extended beyond administering to his congregation. In his first weeks as dean, he shared a platform with Winnie Mandela and explained the theological reasons for opposing such harsh legislation as the Terrorism Act. He held a 24-hour prayer vigil for those detained without trial under the act, and he began to petition the state and white society. His message was simple. The country teetered close to a political explosion. In May 1976, he warned in an article published in a Johannesburg newspaper about a pending bloody confrontation. A few days later, while on a retreat, he felt called on by God to write to the Prime Minister, John Vorster. He did so, appealing to the man's humanity. to his religious convictions, to his feelings as a father and grandfather, concluding the portentous words, I am frightened, dreadfully frightened, that we may soon reach a point of no return, when events will generate a momentum of their own, when nothing will stop their reaching a bloody denouement. 6 weeks later, the explosion came when black children in Soweto rebelled against the education system and sparked a series of violent uprisings, which engulfed the country. Tutu responded by holding prayer vigils, by being constantly visible in the township, and by exhorting his white congregants to condemn the suppression. Their lack of compassion profoundly disturbed him. And that's it. We have to get to the point where it's not enough to say something's wrong. We must um, do something about it. It's not enough to say, well, it's not right to be sexist. We have to be anti-sexist. We have to be anti-racist. We have to be anti anything that is destructive to human society, right? Also, in this reading, we must understand that Africa is made up of over 50 countries, I believe 54. Each country has its own culture, and within those countries, there are multiple cultures even within. Okay, so we have to understand that Africa is not the United States. Africa is like the United States, Canada, Mexico, South America, you know, uh, Brazil, Argentina. It's more like that, right? Or if it helps, don't think of Africa like the United States. Think of Africa like South America with all its different countries. So, I mean, that is something very important that we must understand, especially in the United States, because I've seen Africans come over and we say, oh, they're African. Well, where? Where are they from? Are they from the East Coast? Are they from the West Coast? What, from Uganda? Are they from Zaire? Are they from Ivory Coast? It makes a huge difference. The same way someone from Canada is different from someone in the United States, is different from someone in Mexico, is different from someone in um, Cuba. You understand? So um, that's very important. Until next time, I thank you for your support, and I ask that you take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe out here.